What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. Hope all's good wherever you are. In this video, we're going to look at a video of Katie Hopkins when she was on this ridiculous show called Loose Women, which after watching the clip, the name fits. Let's get into it. I'll give you my thoughts on the back end.
Reaction, I think.
Well, yes. Well, you've got a mixed reaction coming out.
I did, but I particularly like the lady there in the red.
When you went in, it was big booze, wasn't it? Really big booze.
Yeah, really big booze. I went in as the most hated Celebrity Big Brother candidate ever in the history.
Did you like that? You liked that title?
Yeah, I know where I am with booze. I know where I am with being hated, kind of the biggest bitch in Britain, most hated woman in Britain. That's kind of space that I'm used to. I'm used to kind of getting booze from audiences, so I'm all right with that.
But did you go in because you don't like being the most hated woman in Britain? You wanted to change that?
No, I think I went in because, you know, I've been asked for quite a long time. The January series is always, I think, the better one because people are indoors and largely bored at home anyway. And because there only comes a certain amount of time where you can keep saying no, when you recognise lots of people are working very hard out there doing 13-hour night shifts to earn £28,000, £34,000 a year, and you're being offered a lot of money to essentially go in a house and sit on your bottom.
So do you go for the money?
Yeah, I think for me, ultimately, you can put it to things like, you can say, well, that's the school fees paid for, or that's the university fees paid for, or whatever you want to put it as, and that's, for me, justified leaving my children for 4 weeks, although obviously leaving them with my husband and my mum and dad.
You see, as long as you're honest about that, because I hear some people in a lot of, you know, TV shows going, I don't know why I came in here, and you think, everybody knows why you went in there. You went in for the money.
Yeah, my mum loves you just as
But did you go in to win it? Did you go in to win it? Because the thing I kept people saying, you were saying, they're playing a game, he's playing a game, she's playing a game. You were playing a game. Surely you were all playing a game. You're playing...
You are. It is a game, and
show.
it's important to see it as a game. And it's important as well not to take it too seriously or yourself too seriously. My husband said I should try and see it as the pursuit of happiness. I'm not sure about that. But certainly you should see it as a game. You should recognise that it's not actually that difficult. You should recognise that your life isn't that hard in there. You shouldn't complain all the time. There isn't actually much wrong with you, and that's one of the things the producer said to me afterwards, is that I was probably the only candidate that didn't complain, didn't ask to see a doctor ever, didn't need to see the psychiatrist ever, and didn't complain about the way I was being treated, because frankly I think the people in there have an easy time of it and should zip it.
One of the ladies actually said, "So you did it for money?" Yeah, you moron. Do you think anyone, especially a famous person like Katie, but anyone, is going to lock themselves in a home with a bunch of random strangers? I've never actually watched Big Brother, but I know the concept. So you're going to lock yourself in a house full of people you may not like and compete for 24 hours a day, filmed 24 hours a day. And what, you're not going to do it for the money? You're going to do it for what, cultural enlightenment? No, you're there for the money. What a ridiculous question. But I will say it's good that Katie is self-aware enough to not complain about her hardship, because like she said, look, I made a lot of money at this. It's more money than most people make in a year. And some of these people, they're doing hard freaking job. They're roofing, they're cleaning sewers, manual labor, not to mention our men and women in law enforcement that even though you might think they get paid good money, they definitely don't get paid enough money to put their lives on the line for us every day. But if these goofy leftist women were in America or in Canada, they'd probably be part of the defund the police crew. Another point that she made is when she said, you have a choice. The one lady mentioned that the lady was made fun of by Katie about her weight. And listen, you're going to have thick skin if you want to be in the public eye, or if you want to be famous in any way, shape, or form, or if you want to be a public figure, run in politics, have a YouTube channel. People are going to say mean things to you. Most people, if you're a good person, will say nice things to you, but you have to be willing to roll with the punches and, again, have thick skin. It comes with the territory. You don't get to have all the good, the fame, the money, but God forbid somebody would say anything bad about you. I know in 2024, it's all about your feelings. No, God, somebody says something bad about me. Yeah, so toughen up, Buttercup. But then again, I was born in the 80s, so nothing offends me. I guess the point I'm trying to make here is if you can't handle the heat, get out of the kitchen. Let's get back to the video.
Do you ever... Do you ever, of everything you've said, controversial, and you know you've upset people with things you've said, do you ever regret saying it or feel you should apologise?
No, I don't regret saying anything that I've said because I'd stand by it. And I think in the house, whilst maybe people got to see another side of me or a side of me beyond maybe 5 minutes on a sofa or 2 minutes on a radio or 140 characters on Twitter, there is still a very hard side to me, a side that says, no, the taxpayer shouldn't be paying for your kid to go to school when you pay £4,500 on the transportation of your horses.
Yeah, no, that's an opinion that you have, but I'm on about personal attacks, personal opinions. Do you ever think I shouldn't have said that and I should apologise?
Give me an example.
Well, for instance, when my sister was in Big Brother, you constantly, every day, day in, day out, went on about, I wish she'd put her ugly fat arm away. I wish she'd pick up her very droopy breasts. She looks like an old person that smells of, she didn't put this politely, but urine. And as a family, that was really, really hard and I just thought, can you imagine somebody saying that about your family? Do you ever think, actually, I shouldn't have said that?
No, and people say hard stuff about me all the time, obviously.
No,
if you let me answer... No, I'm going to answer. I am going to answer if we let me answer, of course. And the thing I would say is, you know, there are hard things that are said. I wasn't the biggest fan of your sister on Celebrity Big Brother, and I was a massive supporter of Jim Davison. I suppose adversaries, you have to pick your sides.
Absolutely.
And I was always Team Jim.
Do you not think you should have looked into the reason her arm is that fat is because she's had breast cancer and she has lymphedema and she's had a mastectomy?
We all
and her
have.
biggest insecurity in life is that arm that you constantly, day in, day out.
And how many times, you know, I think I get a lot of comments, for example, every day about maybe I've got a big nose or I look like Princess Anne or a horse face or any of the other insults that people want. To throw at me, and I accept those things that people throw at me. But I guess I've always said that, you know, if you put yourself out there on TV, you have to accept that people aren't always going to like you, and you do have choices. I have a choice. I can stay at home and sit on my sofa, or I put myself out there and accept some of the comments that are coming my way, and I've been grateful for those.
But talking to a cancer victim and describing her as having droopy breasts, is that constructive criticism?
I think for me, I was Team Jim, and so I was with Jim all the
but
way on
you
this, and I didn't like the way she behaved in the house. I didn't like the way she
haven't answered my
conspired
question.
against
Do you
Jim.
think telling a cancer victim that she's got droopy breasts is constructive, helpful criticism?
I'm not looking to do constructive, helpful criticism. I have 400,000 followers on Twitter because some people find me witty and entertaining.
No, but also we know how you get 400,000 followers on Twitter by trading them off.
Then the reason people read the stuff you write is because you write fairly harsh and direct stuff about individuals. So we have the same. We operate in the same business.
I have never picked on someone's breasts because they're a cancer victim. I just think there are other ways to have a go at someone. And
we could pick on this one item and talk about it for 15 minutes.
No, but you know what I'd like to ask you on a general level? Forget Big Brother for a second. I first became aware of you, as many people here will have, on The Apprentice, right? And since then, you have made what seems to be actually quite a successful career on being controversial and saying cruel things sometimes. Was that your game plan, that you were going to be that person?
No, I think increasingly out there nowadays, the world is really magnolia. You know, everybody sits in this magnolia, vanilla, middle ground of wanting to be liked. And I like to believe that I am some kind of conviction individual. There are things I believe passionately in. I believe passionately, for example, that we need to look after ourselves, look after our weight, make sure that we take personal responsibility.
But do you like being called a bully, though? I mean, people
accountability.
call you a bully. Do you like that?
I don't think I'm a bully. I think one of your other loose women, I think Nadia, did a pretty good job of being a bully in the house. And I'd like to say, you know, I heard her say the only reason you can tuttle you like, but the only reason I'll be kicked out of this house is because people love me so much. They want to save me. And I think, actually, there's another side to that. I think Nadia was kicked out of the house because she did a very bad thing in supporting Perez, and actually she wasn't prepared to have another individual in the house that she disagreed with. I didn't vote for Nadia to be evicted from the house, but she voted for me every time. I think I'm quite open-minded, that we all have different opinions, and that's OK.
You know, and you might think, oh, because Nadia is a loose woman, that, you know, our audience would be biased towards that, and our comments today actually are very
varied, 50-50, and
Of
a lot
course.
in favour of you. Deborah says, I think Celebrity Brother did Katie a big favour. It brought out her softer side and definitely changed my opinion of her. Debbie says, Katie has a cracking sense of humour. You'll always know where you are with her. Helen says, and we talk a lot about Perez, obviously, which we'll ask you about in a moment. She spoke her mind and gave that vile Perez as good as he got. I didn't care for her when she went in, but glad that she stood up for herself. When it comes to Perez, can I ask you, I actually watched this, and as it went on, I actually thought you were very similar. And it was almost like your hatred of Perez became a pantomime. And there was a scene where he was chasing you around the garden.
Licking me.
If anybody had asked me how you would have responded to that, I'd have said you'd have given him hell, get away, don't touch me, how dare you, off to the diary room. And you ran around giggling like a schoolgirl.
Yeah.
So I didn't get what you really thought of him.
Yeah, there were different ways of dealing with Perez. I think what I'm rather proud of, I suppose I speak for myself and probably Callum on this one, who he, I think, insulted in a sexual and very unnecessary manner, is that, you know, we chose to rather rise above Perez. And if that involves sometimes gaming about a little bit, so be it. But most of the
But
time
you
it was just
goaded him
rising
quite
above.
No, but
no,
I didn't
not
think...
at all. Perez was a nasty individual who managed to get other people removed from the house. And Alexander O'Neill, actually, is a really great gentleman who I really admired. And he managed to get him removed from the house. He tried to get me removed from the house as well. And I don't think he did a very good job of that.
Let's talk about some of the things you did say in the House that attracted a great deal of publicity. When, at one stage in the House, you referred to Katie Price as thick, you also picked the fight with her about the state paying for her son, who is blind and severely disabled, to go to school. Now, the reason why he has to go all that distance to school is because there are no special schools
Yes, I
in
recognise all of this.
West Sussex.
Yeah, I've just spent 4 weeks with her.
Yeah, I know. So do you think that saying that she should pay for her son to go to school, do you still stand by that?
Absolutely. You know, for me, asking the British taxpayer... Hold on, I'll just answer your question, shall I?
Yeah, but someone in the audience is awesome.
If you ask me a question, then it's probably useful if I answer it, or you can just chat.
Me. I'm asking you.
Then I'll
you're
answer
a
your question.
taxpayer.
If you ask me a question, I'll answer it for you if you give me the space to do that. But
do you stand by
it? I do. As I just said, yes. And I was going to explain, but you wouldn't let me. Is that if you spend £4,500 a month stabling your horses, 2 of which cost £150,000 each, allegedly, you know, I don't think you can then look the taxpayer in the eye, some of which only are maybe £30,000 a year, which is still a lot of money. You can't then look them in the eye and say, yes, you should pay for the transportation of my son. I think sometimes when we're queuing for a hospital place, maybe when you can't get an appointment for the doctor the day you need it, when you actually need to get a place in a school that you really want to get to and you can't because there aren't enough taxis to go round, should Katie Price be taking taxpayers' money when she earns what she earns and spends £4,500 on a few old nags in a stable? I say no. You say different, I understand that.
Well, I also think that by that logic, Katie, pensioners who earn more than a certain amount should just hand back all their money so people who are below the breadline can go to casualty and not clog it up, and people should not be using the National Health Service, even though they may have paid their national insurance and be perfectly entitled to. What you're talking about is some kind of class system or means system that extends right across our social services.
And I would accept that. I think people like myself, I have taken my children out into private schooling. I also obviously pay my taxes, so I pay for their state school places as well. But I like to think by making those right decisions, I've freed up 3 spaces in state schools for other people that desperately need them. I think people like myself have made those accountable decisions. I'm proud of the decisions I make. I believe I do have integrity in the things I say, but I accept that you have a differing view to me.
Very popular view I have as well. So
well done,
there you
Janet.
go.
That's great.
Well, as I said, lots of people obviously voted for you, otherwise you wouldn't have come second. Mixed reaction from our fans, but thank you very much for coming on. Katie Hopkins, everybody.
I'm a fan of Katie Hopkins, really. And the lady said to her, you like to say controversial things. No, she just says facts and she says her opinion. If someone else is offended by what she's saying, and often those things are facts, to quote Ben Shapiro, your facts don't care about your feelings. Loose women. This was the proper title for this show. These ladies are quite insufferable. These are people that I don't know who these ladies are, but I would assume they're the ladies on The View. They live in their own little bubble, rich, so disconnected from the average member of the population that it becomes ridiculous. When you get to the point that people are saying facts or they're just stating their opinion, you can't say that because you might offend someone. When we're getting to that point, which we've been here for a while, society has gotten weak and society has gotten ridiculous. I hope you all enjoyed this video. If you did, guys, please consider subscribing to the channel. Leave a thumbs up on the video if you don't want to subscribe. Helps this video reach more people. I will catch you all in the next video. Peace out, everybody.